Marvel.
What?
That's like a 3 Marvels.
Did I do it twice? Did I do the thing? I did the thing, didn't I? So, the Marvels. Okay. Let's get this out of the way right up front. You know this is going to bomb atomically, as I'm fond of saying on this show, right? I mean, like a 60, 70 kiloton bomb, something like that? Like, you'd only need to drop one to send the message kind of thing? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. It's going to be awful. It's been pushed back like 6 times. It's had 2 or 3 reshoots. Brie Larson, whatever your feelings are on her as an actress, as a human, whatever. I don't know the woman's name. I think it's Lashonda Lynch, who was in the James Bond movie. Most recently is playing the Photon version of Ms. Marvel. And then, of course, we have Iman Vellani as Ms. Marvel. That's your lineup. The only thing likable that I just said in all them words is Iman Vellani. I like her. I like the series. I've said it before. Not ashamed. It was okay. She's cute. She was funny. She was charming. It worked. The relationship with her mom worked in the movie. This movie is gonna suck hard enough to wake the dead. I guarantee it. And the reason I just mentioned its overall suctitude on like the Richter scale of suck being like a 9.6 is because Nia DaCosta, the writer and I think / director of the movie, is out there trying to sell, and I get it, it's her job, the provisions under which sequels would happen to this movie. And like, could we pump the brakes for 3 seconds on sequels to a movie that was so bad, so thin the first time around, that when they brought the star back to make a sequel, they had to bring in other Marvels to throw in her film? Like, what is going on here? What are these people thinking, other than shameless self-promotion on her part? And I get that she must have to do an element of that to, you know, make her career. But I mean, is there any realistic chance shit like this happens?
The thing is that Miss Marvel is a great character that they have in the comic books. Like, she has real things to do in space and what she's called to do, and they're just not using it. I think what they try too hard, and what they always try to tie it back to Earth.
Yeah.
When they really don't need to. I mean, that's one of the things that threw Green Lantern, other than the animated suit. Ryan Reynolds is right on that. Yeah. Don't make the super suit green or animated.
There's a show, a movie that needs a reboot. I'll give you that. But yeah, no, I think you're right on this, Marvel. Continue on that point.
But like, they have so many other things they could do off-world, which would bring new dynamic to the universe, and then you can have them do something new that's not Earth-related. I think the Earth itself is limiting. One, you know who all the heroes are. You need something new to spice this up. And like, you could have her do a crossover with one of the biggest fan favorites of all the Marvel universe, the Silver Surfer, who has comic.
Yes.
People love the Silver Surfer, yet the only time they use him is in a really bad Fantastic Four movie, which completely bombed, completely destroyed the character, destroyed his backstory of like how personal it was, that how he had to choose this, what he does for the betterment of his family, but never to be able to see them again.
Yep.
So
at the expense of multiple planetary genocides, of course, right? Exactly. Yeah. Like, that's the cost of his decision.
Yeah, and we finally get introduced to Galactus. Like, there's so much more we can do that's outside of the Avengers and outside of Spider-Man and outside of Daredevil that you can do in the Marvel Universe that they just don't want to touch on, or they're too scared because, their comic book didn't sell. No, if you write it right, they will come and see it. It's going to be good because it's different. And what we're tired of is the same old. It's the same story told over and over again in every one of these superhero movies. DC was onto something different, but they just poorly executed it. Especially when they let Joss Whedon try to redo Justice League and make the Justice League look completely underpowered until Superman got there. It's like Justice League at 1% and it has all the members but Superman. And then Superman shows up and it's like
max power.
Justice League 100%.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great meme. It illustrates that point perfectly. I think you're onto something with your take on Miss Marvel as a character, but I think I'd still even encourage you to pump the brakes a little bit, because I think there is a certain logic to at least being cognizant of how comic sales work around these characters. This is a character who so few people buy her book. They had to do her recent Death of event in a Spider-Man book because she doesn't sell for whatever reason. The Disney Plus show, like it or not, is, I think it's their it's either their second lowest, or it might be second lowest now because Secret Invasion was so bad. But I think it had fewer watch minutes overall than She-Hulk. But that's also, again, coming off of, it was the first show that came off of a bad Marvel movie. I think it came out right after Eternals. I mean, there's a bunch of factors that go into that. But I think you're right. I think that a jump start is absolutely needed to get people back into these kind of projects. And I think the way to go, so you can get Ms. Marvel doing that kind of stuff, is figure out a way to do it, but not for $300 million. I get that puts kind of a creative damper on getting her into space to doing that. But I mean, maybe there's just a way to have a quick bit of space, and then wherever she ends up is just shot on Earth and not, you know, all green screened and other shit. I don't know. I don't know. We'd have to think about it. We'd really have to put our minds together to figure out how to do it. But I mean, if they could get a budget on the books of like $1.25, $1.50, and not 300 million, and then marketing and all the other shit we throw in, then the risk seems a little bit more manageable. Will it carry? I don't know. Blue Beetle didn't carry, but again, there's a complicated web of variables that impact how these movies perform, you know, relative to one another, you know, because nothing happens in a vacuum. You know what I mean? If they bring out a banger of a movie, but then COVID, you know, election variant happens right on top of it, I mean, The Dark Knight doesn't do well in a COVID environment. You know what I mean? Barbie wouldn't have done well in a COVID environment. So I mean, it's tough. I guess you got to hedge some bets, but I think you're right. I think they need to get creatively outside the box. Maybe they start with a couple of things people know if they're going the reboot way. Like, if you're going to do Ms. Marvel in a movie by herself, maybe you do have to pair her with a younger Spider-Man, kind of, not like necessarily like a teen romance kind of thing or a teen comedy, but you have to, I think you do have to have something recognizable in there to get the normies to go check out your project. I don't think she can do it standalone. The series didn't.
Now, there is one more Mrs. Marvel that they have not introduced yet, and if you know who I'm talking about, it could lead to the launch of a whole new franchise. Do you know who Mrs. Marvel is?
I don't think I do. Get me up to speed.
She's better known as Jean Grey.
I think I did know that somewhere down the line. That would be an incredible move.
When she first, of the original 5 X-Men, that was what she was called, Mrs. Marvel.
Did not know.
And then she dropped it for just her name, and then and then she went to the whole Dark Phoenix saga. But yeah, it was because there was a comic book I was reading back in the day when it was the Return of the Dark Phoenix, and like she was being held on trial, and they had to fight against all these. The X-Men had to go up against all these alien type versions of Professor X's girlfriend's faction. And she put on the old Mrs. Marvel outfit, and that's when Cyclops like, "Oh, you're putting on the Mrs. Marvel outfit."
All right, cool. That's a little bit of throwback history right there. Nicely done. That is cool. They could bring her in because that might be the tie-in to what you keep talking about that you'd like to see with the X-Men coming on board.
Yes, just
the Fantastic Four coming on board. It's right there. It's right there. It's right there. Can't argue with that. I mean, I guess that's just how sometimes they do things. Is that the obvious road is in front of them, but they're going to want to do the Marvels and insist upon sticking in a divisive figure in one regard, a very limited unknown in another regard. I've seen the trailers. It seems really dorky. It doesn't seem like anything I'll enjoy. I think that it's going to be one more example of it got pushed back and rewrote. Budgets ran over. Effects are going to be garbage. I think they've been wise to keep Brie Larson out of the media leading into this and not having her be the focal point of the 2 trailers that I've seen. I think that was probably pretty slick. But I also don't necessarily think that, again, like directors coming out and telling me this is going to be a deconstruction of Brie Larson's Ms. Marvel, like of Captain Marvel. Like, I don't care. or them coming out and telling me that, you know, this is different than every other Marvel movie because it's going to bring a fun atmosphere back to the MCU. I'm like, when the fuck wasn't it dorky, funny, and too overly joke-ridden? Like, it's been that for like 3 years. That's a sticking point for a lot of people because we don't want that.
We kind of want the seriousness back. I mean, I went back and I was watching a clip from The Dark Knight, not The Dark Knight, but Batman versus Superman. And it was actually really well played. I mean, overall, the movie was kind of dumb, and like the reason why they...
it was mid at best.
Yeah, but there was the really great scene of when Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent went up against each other as their alter egos, and like questioning each other at that party. And it's like, and then like Bruce Wayne's like, well, it might just be the Gotham in me, but we have a problem when people dress up like clowns and try to call themselves heroes.
Yep. Dude, that was again. It had flashes of that in there for sure. In a very average to, you know, slightly below average movie, in my opinion. But I think you're right. I don't need these guys to go, you know, full 40K like grimdark in a Marvel universe. I don't think that's anything that is bankable that most people would enjoy either. But I mean, could we go 5 seconds without the joke to ease like dramatic tension? One of the things that was really great about Spider-Man No Way Home is every time something serious happened, there was no fucking joke. Like Aunt May gets shot down, no joke. You know what I mean? Tobey Maguire gets shanked in the back by the Goblin at the end, no fucking joke. Like the moment's allowed to stand by itself for all its seriousness. And that's refreshing that they can do that.